In this presentation, we will generate, analyze, print, and export to Excel a sales by customer report or a customer sales history report. Time to engage with Sage 50 Cloud Accounting. Here we are in the Bellwether Garden Supply demo file. We're currently in the customer and sales section. We're going to be going to the reports and forms drop down. Now we're considering the sales by customer. Customers are going to be in that receivable cycle or in the revenue cycle. Therefore, I'm going to be opening up the accounts receivable section. Note that any section you open up, I typically open up the financial statements section usually, and then I kind of bounce over to the receivable section, but you can go directly to the receivable section within the drop down. Now, when you think about the receivable section, I would kind of think of the whole flow of receivables, which typically starts with an invoice, accounts receivable going up, and then sales happening at that point in time, and then we're going to receive payment on it. So the income statement account then related to that cycle is going to be the sales information, and that's what we're considering here. So we want to see basically this report is the one I'm going to be concentrating in on. Notice you have a bunch of different kind of customer type of reports that we want that we can take a look at. Here I'm going to take a look at the customer sales history. So I want to open up the customer sales history here. And then here is our report, customer sales history for March 1st through March 31st. You do have the options tab up top to make adjustments to the report, including the time period of the report. So we have our options up top with our standard kind of period changes that we can make here. We're going to be keeping it in the current period for March. I'm going to close this back up. We can see that this is basically supporting, and note that all the other reports that we're going to think of opposed from or apart from the balance sheet and the income statement in essence are going to be supporting documentation, supporting reports to numbers, master accounts or GL accounts that are going to be on the balance sheet and income statement. So this one in essence supporting the sales number that would be on the income statement. So let's open up the income statement then and go back to the reports here. We're going to open up the financial statements, also open up the income statement. I'm going to open up this one down below the standard income statement. The period, I'm going to keep the period as is for the month of March. I'm going to uncheck these items and then just run our standard income statement. So here's our income statement. First part of the income statement being our revenue. So here's the revenue for the month of March. Comes out to the $90,591. Now, the sales by customer report you would think would tie out to that $90,591, but there could be items that were posted basically to the GL account which weren't assigned to a customer, and in that case you might have differences. You could have a difference between the reports. Let's go back over to our report for the sales items. So we want the sales by customer. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom of this report, going down to the bottom of this report, we have the cost of sales or the amount of the $87,769.78 for the time period or the month of March. And then we have the cost and then the gross profit and the gross profit margin of the report. So if I scroll back up top, you can see how this is going to be broken out. We got the customer ID, the name, then the amount, then the cost of sale, the gross profit, and the gross margin. So again, supporting documentation that could be useful when thinking about the income statement. Now, also note that when you're considering the income statement here and what type of accounts you want on the income statement, notice what you don't typically want is going to be a sales by customer type of account. You don't want to list like your major customers in a GL account, because typically you want to do that kind of information in another report, such as this report. So typically here you're going to have less accounts on the income statement. You can break out that more detail then with the use of other reports. It's going to give you supporting documentation with regards to that sales item. And that's typically going to be the case with many different key accounts, right? We want to have the summary report on the GL, and if we need to format this data in some other fashion, typically then having supporting reports that will support the major financial statement accounts. Let's go ahead and do our standard process here. We could print this. We have the options up top to do the settings. We could email it to someone, and we could export it to Excel and PDF it. So what I'm going to do here is make a PDF of it, but use the printer to practice the cute PDF printer. Then we're going to put this to our same Excel worksheet and take a look at our options for that as well. Also just note that this number is a great base number to do other kind of reports. If we wanted to adjust this report to like a pie graph or something like that, graphs by the customers, this will be a report that we can use for that. And Excel is a great tool to do that. We might take a look at that in a future presentation. So for now, we're going to be printing it. So let's go up top. Gonna print it to that cute PDF printer one more time, or we'll do it again. This won't be the last time, but we'll print this one to the cute PDF printer as we have seen in the past. It's gonna ask us where do we want to put it. I'm gonna put it here in section 2. I'll put it into the financial statements. I'll keep the name as is. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Also gonna export it. So we're gonna export this report. It's gonna go to the browse. I'm gonna just make sure it's picking up the correct Excel file, which I'm sure it is, and then I'm gonna say okay. It'll then export it to Excel. It's going to be opening up the existing workbook, and it'll then be putting this information into a new worksheet on that workbook. So there we have it. And now we can make adjustments to this worksheet. Now, again, note that this is a kind of report that we can commonly adjust to. We might want to adjust this report and sort by the amount, sort by the cost, and so on and so forth. One way that you can do that is we could take this data and possibly even put a table in this data. So we could take this data here, and maybe I don't even want the totals, or maybe I want to add some distance in the totals here, and insert. I'm going to insert a few cells, and then if I just want this data, I can insert maybe a table for that data. I can say, hey, why don't I make that into a table? And that'll give me some different sorting features. So that's what I want. I'm going to say okay. And so there we have it. And then I could sort this. There's other ways we can use that sorting field. But we could sort it by name. We could sort it then by amount if we so choose. And so, right, we could sort it by amount. Let's go Z to A. We'll have the top to the bottom. A type of amount, or the cost of goods sold, or possibly the gross profit. We can take a look at the gross profit items, as well as obviously any column we want. So this is a report that we could be sorting from. We can also, of course, make charts and graphs from reports such as this with the use of Excel. Now we're going to go ahead and print this out. Just note that if I go to the second tab over here, we're going to have the heading of the report. So the heading's up top, and that can be adjusted too. We're going to go back over to this side, and then I'm going to print the entire workbook. We can print this now all on one printer, so we don't have to collate it if we don't need to, and we could save it to a PDF file with all these reports on one PDF file by using the Qt PDF printer. So I'm going to go to the printing options. I'm going to then say that we want the Qt PDF printer. That's the one we want. I want to be making the entire workbook, so I'm going to print the entire workbook. And so there we have it. We've got the assets and the liabilities as a balance sheet. It's called a balance sheet. Income statement, and then we got the statement of cash flows, and now we've got our customer sales history information. So let's go ahead and print that out. So I'm going to print this out. It's going to ask us where do we want to put it, and I'm going to say that we want this in the prior folder, I think, the prior folder in section 2. Well, now I went too far back. That's too far. This one, and I'm going to rewrite that one. I'm going to save that. I'm going to replace it. And then I'm going to close this up, but I'm totally going to save it before I close it. So that's kind of risky. I should probably save it before I close it, but that's kind of living dangerously. That's how I do things, because it's crazy. And then I'm going to go into the folder here. We're going to go into section 2, and then we could provide this information by giving them the single forms in this format, or we can print everything out with the Excel file so we don't have to collate it, or we can, of course, have our PDF file here, and we can attach this PDF file to an email or use this to print out, and it'll have all our reports on the one PDF file, which is nice. That's it for now. Let's get out of here.